I looked at him and I said, software services. He said, he looked at me and I was surprised. So I had a puzzled look on my face. And he said, what I meant to say is that you're selling trust. You really need to actually uh, have a face-to-face conversation with somebody. So do you have, in a very crude way, do you have a neck to choke? Trust and love cannot be bought. It has to be, you have to live it.
My honored guest on today's podcast is the CEO and founder of the company called Chordify, based in Silicon Valley. And when it comes to the location, obviously they are in the tech and the startup world. They help companies scale their minimum viable products with engineering experts. They've been doing this for over a decade, scaled multiple companies with their engineering teams. What I love the most about this, and you will learn in this episode, that they are all about giving back, educating others, the new wave of engineers in the AI world. Very, very interesting conversation. Please sit back and enjoy. Without any further ado, let's jump straight into the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Quiet Work Podcast. Today, we are going to talk about growing tech companies, particularly SaaS and those with AI products. Very popular right now, I know. Growing them with engineering experts. Bringing in someone who has a lot of experience in that space. Ken, please introduce yourself to the audience and tell us about the company you represent.
My name is Ken Morris. I'm originally from India, and that's where I started my career. After my undergrad, my first job in the industry was in a retail sector way back, a few decades back. From the retail sector, I went into office automation, where I got trained and coached by Xerox Corporation, where I spent about 4 years. And then I moved into the computer industry, and soon enough, I came into the software services industry. My first foray in this industry was, of all places, was in the Middle East, where I was serving a bunch of multinational banks in the Middle East, and and multinational banks. I was also managing the account of Saudi Aramco. So that was my first foray into services way back in 1995. And by the year 2000, I was here in the US. I have been in Silicon Valley since then, and have continued I've continued my work in the software service industry since then.
I hope that you were able to acquire some real estate in the early days when you moved to the Silicon Valley, because now you can buy, what is it, like 1 million per 100 square feet or something like that.
What I can assure you is that I own the seat that I'm sitting on. So
that's a great answer to that. I would be curious to hear more about the shifts that you've seen in the industry before we talk about your company. So what I mean specifically is that 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, anything related to software, when you said software, people were thinking 100 developers, engineers. It's so difficult. You have to know how to code. You have to have someone that manages it, developing those products, making any changes or shipping changes, I guess they call it in the software industry, were so complicated. But now everyone is talking about using AI to develop software. So how was the shift for you? What have been the biggest major shift over the last decade that you've seen in the industry?
So this is actually going to take a few days to answer this question. but I'm serious. So that's an interesting question, Matt, because it's a large topic, and over a period of a couple of decades, things have actually moved on very fast. I remember the time that I came here, everybody was talking Java at those days. Java, if you ask one of the kids now what is Java, they maybe look at you thinking it's coffee. But, we were there at that time, and, we had an army of developers. And then it soon moved into the mobile application phase around the time that iPhone launched. So 2007, 2008, it was all about building, mobile applications. And then it moved into the cloud and big data technologies and things like that. So things have moved on very fast. And of course, in the last 5 years, we've been seeing more of data analytics and IML. And now in this age of AI tools that we have right now, it's been a energizing journey. And especially in the last 2 years, I mean, every day or every week, we look forward to some newfangled application being promoted or launched. And so in all these years, what has been happening is that if you look at it from a startup perspective, you look at what is happening, you see that the barriers of entry for startups are so low. that if you want to do a startup 10 years or 15 years ago, that was a process. You had to think about it. You have to do a lot of planning, a lot of stuff that had to happen. But now, if you want to do a startup, you can. I mean, it's like saying one, two, three, and you have a startup. So, I mean, it's not as easy, but at least you have the front end, or you have a model working for you in a very short time using AI tools. But then you have the long and hard work of making that application work on a cloud or on a platform or on an environment that is can be accessed by several people. So even as we say that the startup can be done in a whole development can be done for bringing out a few features in a very short time in a few hours, but then the backend work also requires some amount of time. So the I mean, while using AI, the important thing that is being talked about now is that don't let AI control you, but you have to take the control of what is happening in AI. And so then you will not be faced with any surprises down the line.
Absolutely. You have to keep that human, or you should keep that human in the loop at any
Right.
time. I like that idea, and hopefully it will stay there like this, because we see the scary news all the time, every single day, where they say AI is coming after 3 million jobs here, another 3 million jobs in that industry, another industry, and all of a sudden we'll all be jobless and just sit back and relax, see how AI is going to shift every industry around. Talking about your company, Chordify, who do you work with and at what stage? Because I can imagine developing or getting to the stage where you have the minimal viable product, a product that someone wants, and there's a market for it, takes a bit of time. So, at what stage do you work with those companies, and who are these companies that you work with?
Yeah, right. So I'll just step a few years back because I just wanted to kind
Hmm.
of bring in Codify. Codify was started in 2007, Codify.com, as a single entrepreneur, a vehicle for me to promote my services. And I was a solo entrepreneur at the time. I mean, I used to promote myself and my services through this company, which was an LLC at the time. But fast forward to 2014, I added two more of my past colleagues who were important pieces to add to it, who brought in the experience of operations and strategy. And that is when we actually officially launched Codify as a company. We launched Codify to do software development services onshore in the US. We had no offshore operations at that point in time. So that's how we started. Soon enough, we started representing companies, startups from India to promote their products over here. And then fast forward to 2020, when we actually went all in on offshore. We actually went to India, acquired a company over there with about
Hmm.
25, 30 developers. This was in a city called Trivandrum. Locally, it is known as Thiruvananthapuram, but I think it's a tongue twister, so let's stick to Trivandrum. So we have our offshore development center in Trivandrum, in a Trivandrum Technopark, which happens to be the oldest technopark in India. It started off in 1980s, 87 or 88. It's a campus. It's a campus worth a few square kilometers, and it has about anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 companies over there, including the
Wow,
larger companies like Oracle, TCS, Wipro.
really?
Yeah, it's a huge campus. Since it was in the 80s, real estate was freely available. It was actually provided by the government of Kerala, and this is a public-private, combination partnership, arrangement. And this is one of the only kind in India. Bangalore, I think the Bangalore and Hyderabad started picking up after that. But this happens to be one of the largest techno campuses in India. So we're happy to be part of that vibrant community. And currently we have about 35 developers there in India. So we cater to the we have two customers who normally come to us, customer profiles. One of them is the early stage startups, the entrepreneurs who come to us with an idea and say that, hey, this is what we think we want to develop. Can you help us build this from scratch? So that is we get quite a lot of that. Being in Silicon Valley, we have a lot of entrepreneurs who come to us with this request. So our team actually sits with them. Our solutions architect or CTO sits with them, fleshes out the idea, provide them with a kind of a roadmap as to how the how long the product will take to be built. What is the architecture? What is the basic architecture for the product? And then Once the everyone agrees that this is how it should look and how it should run, then we go ahead and build the product for them. So
Hmm.
pre AI days, we used to take about anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks to actually bring up an MVP. And again, MVP has a lot of iterations because the minimum viable product is something that is envisaged by the client or the founders at that point in time. But once they actually take it to a few customers, then they get a very clear idea as to what the MVP should look like. So we expect iterations to happen in that process. But once the MVP is out, we then once the MVP is out, is that is the time when actually the founders have their work cut out for them, because then they get into the phase of getting more funding and getting more customers to sign up. So that is one set of customers that we have. The second set of customers that we have are mid-sized companies, any company, say upwards of 25, 30 employees, or it can go up to 500 to 1,000 or 2,000 employees. But these are
Hmm.
companies that have already gone through the initial funding phase, what we call as early stage fund, or the first funding, which is normally the Series A or Series B funding that they get. And that is when things start happening in the company. Because if you look at the evolution of a startup, in the early days, funding is non-existent or very little. So with whatever little you have, the founders actually somehow make it happen to launch their MVP and to bring out the product into the market. But once they get the funding from the first funding from a VC, it's like a recognition of the product and the service that they provide to the larger community at large. And then do you have money as well? So it could be anywhere between half a million to maybe a few $1 million cash. So this money is then used by startup founders to actually spruce up their engineering team, or it goes to marketing, or it goes to sales. It could be anything. It could be they could use all this money that is there, and that's when they decide whether they want to go offshore and those kind of things. So the later stage companies, when we get engaged with those companies, we don't get to see the entire product, but we probably are engaged to actually build in features at a certain set of features which are required by the company. These were important features, but it didn't come out in the early days because of the lack of funds. So companies like us are brought in as partners to actually do co-development work for these companies. And it could be the co-development work take any form or shape. It could be either working specifically with a team in India could be working directly with the VP engineering or a director engineering over here to actually enhance product features on a week by week basis, or it could be a larger team that is so if in case a company over here has 5 to 10 developers, and they see that their roadmap requires another 25, 30, 40 developers. That is when we have specific models called the global competency center model or the build out transfer model, where we can actually quickly bring in a team of developers in an offshore location like India to be a extended arm of the team over here. So these are various models that are available to. To make a long story short, there are tried and tested models where we can help teams in the US or in the Europe to actually expand their engineering operations into India.
I see. You've mentioned Europe right now, so you work with companies out of Europe as well?
We have we are kept busy with the work that we get from the US, but we do get inquiries off and on from Europe. We don't have a focus as yet, as in we don't have an office in Europe, but we do get inquiries from early stage companies to actually help them go to do their work, do their MVP build out initially. But we do have off and on we have companies that come to us to do that work. We also actually have customers in Africa. We have a
Hmm.
couple of customers in Kenya and Uganda, and we have a customer since the last 3 years in South Africa. So we do get inquiries from all over the place, and we try and help them as much as we can to bring out their products in time. And all these regions have different, the technology progression in these different geographies are at various different levels, slightly different from what we are here in the US. And so there is a particular we have to take those technology aspects into we have to be cognizant of those aspects when we engage with clients in Europe or in Africa.
Absolutely. I was thinking South Africa is growing so fast. There are so many companies that are based out of there, or solopreneurs or entrepreneurs that moved from Europe to South Africa for the nicer weather that they have there. It seems like it's becoming popular to be there and growing companies out of South Africa. I have to ask if you have the data. I'd be really curious to hear out of all the startups I guess let's call them startups that come up with that idea, they maybe even get to that minimal viable product and launch, how many of those actually succeed to survive the first couple of years and grow a company beyond that? Is there a statistics that you know or that you are aware of? How many of those succeed? How many of those fail?
I mean, for us, I mean, we've not. I mean, the statistics are out there in the market. Everybody knows the numbers. The numbers that we provide are anecdotal. I mean, we have worked with a number of startups. So I mean, as it is well known, even forget about startups, the normal industries, the normal small and medium businesses, the success rate is very, very low. I mean,
Mm,
but still you have a lot of millions of successful SMBs. In a similar manner, you have in the startup ecosystem, it is well known that for every 10 startups, it's only one or two or three who actually make it to the next level. So the next level defined as, it could be an acquisition, it could be equity participation, or they could be a rethinking and what we normally refer to as pivoting. They could pivot into a different product, and so there are many examples of these things that are out there in the market. The more prominent examples that I can think of is, for example, Facebook. The most famous example is Facebook. Facebook, when they went IPO, if you look at what was there in Facebook at that point in time, it was unrecognizable. They had no mobile front end, they had no mobile application, nothing was there. Still,
mm,
they went public, but they went IPO, and then it is when they started transforming the company from within into what is now known as a major social media giant. So these are some of the interesting things that happen in the market, and similarly, there are some other products which had no inkling of what they were wanting to do at the early stage, but they transform as they go along.
mm,
So if so, the typically numbers that we get are mostly from investors, from VC companies. So these numbers, like a 3 out of 10 or 30%, 20% success rate is what we find. But
mm,
specifically in our case, we have customers who have been with us for 10 years. I
mm,
mean, there's a customer, his name is Iterate, San Jose and Denver based company, one of our first customers to come to us. They've also pivoted a couple of times, and we have been part of their pivoting exercise. And now they are a no-code development platform, and we've been lucky to be part of their core development team, a few of our engineers, and so we grew along with them. We then became part of their integration team. So as a software services provider, we need to be able to jump into the software development lifecycle or process at any given point in time. It could be anywhere between the design phase to the production and customer facing phase as well. So in
nice.
in our and we count ourselves very lucky to be part of those phases with select customers. Iterate is one of those examples where we ultimately then became their integration partner, which means that once the product is given out to their clients, we are the ones who come in and help the integration of the client system along with the Iterate's products. So that is one of the unique examples that we have of how we grow along with the companies. And then there have been other cases where companies, we started with a POC for a company in 2018. They then launched their product in 2021 or 22. And then they got acquired by a larger company. The larger company was a hardware company, and they wanted to have the software services along software aspect for the product. And so we got carried into that company as a trusted partner, and we became a core part of the software development team of the larger company at that point in time. So there are cases like this that happens, but anytime an acquisition happens from a partner or from a vendor perspective, anytime a acquisition like this happens or a change happens, it is always an interesting time because there's going to be some chaos over there. We can't expect everything to remain the same or business as usual. So we always expect some changes to happen, and sometimes the changes are we become part of the new team, and sometimes we may not be required because the larger ecosystem will have already somebody like us over there, or they will already be having a team that we can hand over the work to. So it's always we don't have a clear idea as the numbers that are there, but as I said, in general, success rate is around 20 to 30%.
That's reasonable. I think that makes a lot of sense. How do these startups find you, or how do you find them? What's the process there?
Yeah, so that's a company secret. I'm just kidding. So I mean, there is nothing. We are cognizant of the fact that we are in an industry which has a lot of players. There's nothing special that we are selling in general, but we'll come to the specialities. But we there are many players who are actually doing this kind of services, and so we need to be what calls for success is we need to be at the right place at the right time for many of these companies because we have to be in their mind space. So that is the basic success, ingredient of what we have or what we should be having. So again, it has two aspects. One is, we get most of our business through references. So the first thing that we do with our customers is to make sure that we have happy customers so that they go back and talk about us to their friends or in their network so that we can hope to get some business from them. But in terms of getting the first customers, is that we tend to be well networked in our geography, Silicon Valley. So we have a number of events happening focused on entrepreneurs and investors. So we become part of those groups or those communities. We attend those sessions. We talk about our services, and more important than and this actually is not what I said, but it is what of one of my prospective customers told me before he signed up as a customer for us. And it's very interesting. And I never looked at it from that perspective. And he said that almost, I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing. He said, he walked up to me. This was one of those sessions where we had a community event and there was a lot of investors, there were a lot of developers or new founders, those kind of things. So I had a desk and we were kind of talking about our services over there. And this gentleman walked up to me and he said, Ken, you're not selling software. So I looked at him and I said, software services. He said, he looked at me and I was surprised. So I had a puzzled look on my face and he said, no, what I meant to say is that you're selling trust. So,
Mm.
which is actually the truth. I mean, we are not selling software services. We are selling trust because there is a trust gap. I mean, every industry and every country that the industry has that software services are provided from. I mean, there are always some bad apples. I mean, you can't prevent that. So we see a number of customers who have actually been literally cheated by offshore players who actually did not meet them. All the entire transaction is done online or by phone or by these days Zoom. I mean we're talking of slightly older days, in 10 to 2020 time frame, where most of the business was done. Development was a big thing because is a big thing and was a big thing then because the prices were much more economical than what you find by engaging a developer over here. But that went to a very extreme extent where people used to quote uh, half our rates or one third or one fourth our rates of offshore development services. And customers, of course, they say they don't have money or they feel attracted to these very, very low rates. They get very excited. They sign contracts. They don't see who the client on who the vendor is or who the partner is on the other side before signing the contract. And unfortunately, it's not a good thing to say this kind of things, but unfortunately, I mean, there are bad apples and these guys just run away with the money. They don't actually surface after that. So we actually, because we are here in front of these people who have been cheated, we face the flag. We say, hey, somebody from India took the money and they didn't come back. I mean, I can just have sympathy with them. So we actually have this unwritten, we have talked to many founders and we tell them we are not here to get all the business. We get some business, we are happy with it. If somebody else wants to give a business to somebody who's quoting half the rate, we are happy for them do it. But we also caution them, saying that from our experience, have you done this? Have you actually talked to the person who's offering these services? Have you met him in person? Have you shaken hands and have you sat with him, have a coffee? If not, do that. I mean, be sure that your money is safe. Not only the money is safe, I mean, we're all human beings. We make mistakes in the development process. Sometimes there are mistakes, sometimes there are delays. Something that has been promised to happen in 1 month may take 1.5 months. But when it takes 1.5 months, you really need to actually uh, have a face-to-face conversation with somebody. So do you have, in a very crude way, do you have a neck to choke? So if you don't have that person sitting in your geography, or sitting at least somewhere in the US, where you can ask him to take a flight and come and meet with you, I mean, the chances that you can slip up with a person that you have not seen, or you have handed over your money, is a probability. It may not be a possibility, but it's a probability. So, and that's why we say, and that's why this gentleman walked up to me and said, "Hey, no, you're not selling services; you're selling trust." So it's very true. I mean, unless you have the trust factor, I mean, this is hard-earned money of people who have worked all their life, or some part of their life, to put money aside to start a company. And if it's anybody can build software, I mean, so to say, but trust is the most important part. And there are so many examples of this. The company that I talked about earlier, that started 2018. I mean, same thing. We had this was actually in-person meetings, but we met at an event. He said he had an idea, and we said we can help him with, once he's ready. The idea was, in a few weeks' time, everything was set. He gave us what the idea was. We gave him an estimate. The proposal was given to him. Everything was ready, and then there was silence, pin drop silence, for about 10 days or 2 weeks. So then, then I asked him. I kind of called him up and said, "Hey, what happened? Have you decided? Do you want to go with us, or do you have somebody else that you want to go with? We just want to know. Either way, it's fine." So he said, "No, it's why don't we meet for coffee?" And so, I mean, I happened to be in the Bay Area. He was in San Francisco, and I went up to the place that he was in. We met in a coffee shop, and we sat there talking for 3 hours. We were just talking from 10 o'clock to maybe 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. We were sitting and talking about everything other than software. So about my career, my progression, how long I spent in India, where did I do my undergrad, my masters, and everything, family. Same questions to him as well. So in 2.5 hours, like, there was nothing else that was not known to either of us. I mean, so looking back at what happened, then of course, and after 2.5, 3 hours, while we got up, we shook hands, and he said, "Oh, by the way, I have your estimate with me. I might just sign off on that, and we can start the project." So in a sense, what was happening is that he was trying to see whether I was real or not, or whether I was came here on a business visa for 1 month and I was going back to wherever I came from, or was I real over here? Did I have my roots over here? I mean, so, and somewhere, in the last couple of years, I've also read this from a partner company who sells services as well. He was talking of a six-step process for closing a deal, and the six step process. The first four steps are just is the introduction, the getting to know you better, the reference checks, the insights, and those kind of things. So basically, the first four steps consists of, of course, the introduction. Then you meet in person for an in-depth interview or in-depth session. Then you talk about references, and then you look at, are these guys really good at what they talk about? So then they talk about insights and video recordings or reference checks in depth and things like that. Those are the first four steps. And then it's only after these four steps are completed that you go to the fifth step, which is actually, hey, now let's sign off on the deal. So when we talk about reference, we are saying that we skip through the first four steps and we just go directly to the fifth step. So it's to a penalty kick in soccer or in ice hockey, or it's like a gimme putt in golf. So you have the ball 6 inches from the hole, you just have to put it into the hole. So it's equivalent to that. So all the work is done because of your good services that you have done before. You have kept a few customers happy, and that happy customers are then referring customers to you. So you don't have to do the first four steps, and they go directly to the fifth step. So that's the trust that we're talking about. I mean, if you don't have the trust, then we pretty much don't have a company.
I have to say, Ken, that I think you're a mind reader as well, because you answered at least 6 questions that I had in my mind without speaking them out loud. You were able to provide me an answer, because I wanted to actually ask you about trust, and you gave us a fantastic explanation how you do that and how others should do as well. I mean, after all, it's still human to human interaction, and hopefully it will remain like that without AI here. But I wanted to ask you about trust, and in the first place, because I was witnessing a scenario where someone built a relationship here, where in California. The relationship was nurtured over multiple in-person meetings and little projects, and then it came to developing a software. So we were talking about significant amount of money, maybe not in the millions, but definitely six figures of investment, initial investment. Weeks went by, That was a couple of years ago. Weeks went by without anything happening, and then months went by without anything happening, and turned out that the developer team wasn't even aware that they're supposed to develop that software. Trust. I'm saying this because now that you've said everything about building trust, because I think trust is so important when it comes to, and not only knowing that the team you hire will do the good job or the best job to their ability in hopefully timely manner. We understand sometimes delays happen, but also that again, your money is in good hands. You are going to end up having something that you wanted to have, and that you and your team will work with them, with their team, to make sure that they have the best, absolutely the best version of what they need. So yeah, thank you so much for that explanation how to build trust, because I think that's very, very important, and that applies to any other industry.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. I mean, just a last word of that. I mean, so these are things that we learn as we go, and we don't realize it because we are living that on a day-to-day basis. And so the same example. I mean, we have been promoting our services, and we've been co-sponsoring events over here in the valley. Certain events, not. I mean, there's so many events that happen here, but we have been on a particular track, and we've been with certain communities. After doing it for about 2 or 3 years, you become a kind of a constant, you can say, constant fixture in those environments. I got actually a couple of investors walking up to me and saying, "Hey, you know what? Now we know that you're kind of permanent over here. We see you very often." So it's again, that's another aspect of trust. I mean, it's being, as I say, trust and love cannot be bought. It has to be, you have to live it by example. And so what exactly the investor was saying is that now we know that you are here, we can trust you, you're reliable, so let's probably work together and see how we can work together. So these are examples of that you don't, it comes naturally, to the people who are around you, and consistency is a factor in trust. So being consistent, being there, being able to handle objections in a manner that is a win-win for everybody involved. All those factors are weaved into the fact that when some of our older customers who have actually done well, or even if the product is not taken off, they still remember that we have done some service for them which has been good, and they are happy to talk about us. So that is one of our biggest joys or happiness that we see. And the second one is that, see, as we've not discussed that, but I've come from an enterprise background. So I worked with larger companies, and then once you get into the startup ecosystem, the the vibe is very different. Of course, the vibe is different because it's a lot of more pressure, and you have direct accountability to the founders for the money that they're investing in your services as well. In those environments, you have to actually and the results are also there for you to see directly. I mean, in an enterprise, you're a number, you're probably one of the hundreds of thousands of people in the company, and your results may be known to your immediate team, but it is not, maybe it may not be across the company all the time. Sometimes it does happen that way. But in this startup ecosystem, the results are there for you to see. Once you help the product get launched from the software development side, you immediately see the success of the product, and you feel, I mean, the happiness that you get out of seeing a product being successful or a founder being successful is directly, it's in your face. You can experience it, and they come and talk to you about it, and in many cases they make you part of that victory celebration of the process. So that is the joy that we get in working with startup ecosystem founders, entrepreneurs, is that, and that is what makes us work doubly hard. And as I tell the new recruits that come into the company, I very specifically tell them at the last, before they're welcomed in, or before they're given an offer, saying that if you want a 9 to 5 job, please go and work for a larger company. You can check in at 9 o'clock, you can check out at 5, you can have peace of mind, everything. But this is not a 9 to 5 job. This is a 24/7 job. I mean 24/7. What we mean is that we will be at we'll be called at any point in time by the entrepreneur who has a problem. If he has some issue, we can be hauled up, be it Saturday, be it Sunday, be it 10:30 in the night. It doesn't matter. We have to respond to that call. Whether we do it in a short time or a longer time is a different thing, but we have to respond. So it's not a 9 to 5 job. And so I very clearly tell them, if you want a 9 to 5 job, this is not the place. But if you think that you can be dedicated to what we are doing, then welcome abroad. So that's the different
Mindset.
that's the vibe that we have over here working with entrepreneurs.
I have to say that you read another question that I had in my mind. Thank you for that.
I'm
Maybe
sorry,
I
I'm
should,
taking up all your questions.
but it's so funny. I've never had that. Out of those 85 episodes or 86 episodes, I didn't have anyone who read all of my questions in my mind. Maybe you've watched some of my previous
Maybe that
episodes.
question paper leaked.
Maybe. Yes, absolutely. No, I wanted to ask about what gives you the most fulfillment, and I think you've answered that already. So that's, I think the way you work, the way you approach every project is very unique. And I wish I knew about you a couple of years ago when that situation happened to my friends and were looking for reliable software developer and a team who listens and who understands. So that definitely makes a lot of sense now, and I'm glad we connected. So I can talk about you whenever that happens again, or whenever I have friends that look for that and for the software service. I wanted to add something to trust, on the note on trust that you've mentioned. I think you said something around visibility. You have to be around these people. You have to put yourself out there, whether it's on trade shows, networking events, but also online. I think now one thing that's good about this shift of AI, everything else, because it's so much easier now to stand out. Everyone comes up with those AI content, and I think visibility online is that modern handshake that happens before you actually go to the trade shows. Once they go through the trade show, when they've seen you online on LinkedIn, YouTube, or maybe Instagram or Facebook, then there's already some sort of likability element in it. And when they see you, when there's visibility, when they start to like you, and when they like you, they start to trust you. So that's the cycle that I've been observing across multiple industries. So I wanted to add that, just so I have something said in this episode as well, because you've been giving so much knowledge here on human interactions. I think that should be studied a lot more now in the AI world, because that human to human interaction, human to human connection is something that will not be replaced by AI. At least that's my opinion. So that's something to definitely look into, and you cannot develop it without doing the reps. With that said, being around other human beings and doing what you need to be doing. So thank you so much for all the wisdom. My final question to you today, Ken, is what are you excited about the most in the near future? Any events that are happening, whether for business or personal events that are happening in the near future, to finish on a super positive, enthusiastic note?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm actually looking forward to, so in an environment like this, we are super happy to be of help to entrepreneurs, whichever part of the globe they are in. So we are actually at the cusp of actually doing some business with some countries in Central Asia. Earlier, 2024 and 25, we were actually into Africa, and now we're looking at Central Asia as well. It was not a strategically planned move, but it was again through a network reference that we actually got into this environment, and we are very happy for the traction that we've got over there. And the second thing that we are actually excited about this year is the fact that we are actually trying to see whether we can provide services from different geographies. So one of the geographies that we have actually selected is Africa, is East Africa, and we have been very fortunate to actually engage with one of the largest universities, largest or the oldest universities in Uganda, the university
Wow.
called University of Makerere. It is a 125-year-old university, started off, I think, originally by the Israeli, with the funding from Israel, and I think now they are supported by the French government. And we were very fortunate to be introduced to the dean of the computer science and electrical engineering group. One thing led to the other, and we ended up doing a training program for a select number of students. So in the fifth semester, for learning computer languages. So the idea here was upskilling in the broad category of upskilling. So the question that the dean posed to us is that how can you make our graduates more employable when they graduate? So that was the question, and the answer to that was don't wait for them to graduate and then train them. We can train them while they are studying. And so we have a learning management system platform that's inbuilt in the company itself. And so we use LMS platform to actually train a select group of well select. I mean, I think we were given a pool of 35 to 40 resumes along with the university department, we brought it down to 10 students, and we trained those 10 students over 2 months in one computer language. And
Wow.
so our idea was that when they graduate, why the fifth semester is that they have a kind of a capstone project at the end of the third year, leading into the fourth year. So they will use this computer language to do the project, and so by the time they graduate in a year's time, they will already be, they can show on their resumes. Not only show on the resumes, they already have the skill sets to do projects, live projects, and so that was well received, and we are using that, the students that we have trained. We'll take a few of them as interns, and that will be the seating our office over there in Kampala, our development center in Kampala. And we also have we also have progressed a long way into having a development center in south of the border in Mexico. So this is what we're looking forward to in 2026. Among all the things that are happening in AI, I mean, AI will do what it is, but for us, AI is a tool that we can use to enhance the productivity and enhance the pace in which we can bring out products for our customers. I mean, as a service provider, we have to be smart in learning all these tools at the earliest. But having said that, we still continue with our journey of providing help to entrepreneurs, either early stage startups or later stage post Series A, Series B customers. We're still dedicated to them, dedicated to providing services to them and helping them bring out products at a faster scale, be it from India or from Africa or from Mexico.
I love that. What I love about this the most is the global reach with that. I mean, so many different continents, so many different countries. You're giving back, you're educating others. The world is so beautiful because of that. I admire that. So thank you so much for coming up with these platforms to educate others all around the world and giving back. And I hope that this podcast becomes that megaphone to spread the word about what you guys do. And I'm looking forward to doing a take two at one point once some of those projects, some interesting projects came to fruition, and talk about them as well in the near future. So thank you so much for this power hour, Ken. It was a pleasure and honor to host you on the Quiet Work podcast. And I'm looking forward to seeing more success stories on LinkedIn and YouTube from you guys.
All right. Thanks a lot, Matt, for the opportunity to talk to you, and wish you also all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.